Hi, this is Shannon. This is Cycle 2, Week 21, Tutor and Memory Work Ideas. I'm excited to share with you some fun ideas you can use as a tutor in your homeschool group or at home or both. If you are new to my channel, I am a homeschooling mom of 3 little ones, 7, 5, and 3. And we do classical homeschooling and love it. This is our 4th year doing it. I've tutored every year and just love it. I tutor the obesitarians, so that's the little ones, the 4 through 5, sometimes 6-year-olds. So these ideas are with them in mind, but you can definitely use them with older kids or adjust them as you need to. So before we get into the tutor ideas, I want to share with you some fun things I have in my shop that you can use at home to just help your kids practice the memory work, some things you can use in your community as well. So the first thing I want to show you are these personalized timeline cards. These are super fun end of the year gift idea. So I used these last year with my group. I'm going to use them again this year. Just really fun and special little memento for them. So what I do is I put their picture on the front, their name, where they're from, their year, and then just a few things about their year, what made it special, some of the things they learned. So I make them look as much like timeline cards as possible. And then what I've done in the past is just hung them up on the wall on our last community day and just seeing how long it takes for the kids to realize, oh, that's us, that's not the normal timeline cards. And then they get theirs and get to take them home. So I have a Canva template you can get from my shop and make your own. Or I also have an option to make them for you if you would prefer that. So I will link that below so you can check it out. Again, just a fun end of the year gift idea for your own kids or for the group that you've tutored this year. I also wanted to share this review activity book that reviews the second semester of Cycle 2. So I will use this with my kids this summer to just kind of keep our routine going in the morning and review what they've learned before we start a new cycle next year. So it has 50 different activities, covers all the subjects, just really fun activities where the kids dig deeper into the topics, connect the concepts together, and just gain a deeper understanding of them. So I have this in my shop. You can check it out. I'll show you a few of the pages. So this is a page about thermodynamics. They get to find different things in the kitchen and kind of understand what law of thermodynamics it represents. And then this is about just different ways light is observed, and they get to kind of decode the different things. And it also comes with these fun little circular images that are scattered throughout the book that you can either print on labels or cut out and the kids can put in the right spot. So again, covers all the subjects, 50 different activities. Just a really fun way to review what your kids have learned this year in Cycle 2, the second half. I have one for the first half as well in my shop too. I also wanted to share a couple fun games that you can play with your kids at home as we get closer to the end of the year. This Historopoli game is like a Monopoly style game, but covers all the Cycle 2 history. So really fun. My girls love playing this at home. And then I also have my Candyland style memory work game. This is the spring themed one. I also have a Christmas themed one and a fall themed one. These work for any of the cycles. So just a really fun resource game to have at home to practice the memory work. It covers all the subjects. So the different color spots on the board represent the different subjects. So we played this a lot at home. Also, I haven't talked about this in a while, but my Cycle 2 Geography Passport, this one's pretty worn now because my daughter's been using it. It's a great way to review the geography that they've learned. So we've been going through it each week as my 7-year-old learns the different geography, but this has been something we've been going through to review it as well because she is going to try for subject master. So just a fun way to review the geography your kids have learned in Cycle 2. And then I'm also putting Cycle 3 stuff in my shop now. So I have this United States workbook that has a page for all the 50 states, including Washington, D.C. If you didn't know, we focus on the United States next year in Cycle 3. So here are a couple of the pages. This is Alabama. You can see I have all the state symbols on here that the kids can color and the flag and where the capital is, where the state is in the country, things like that. So there's a page like this for each state, similar to my Europe book if you use that this year. Just a fun way to dive deeper into the United States as the kids learn about each state in Cycle 3. All right, the last thing, I have some president games in my shop. So We learn about the presidents the last week of cycle 2, but really anytime you want to learn about the presidents with your kids. But I have several fun games I made. Like this is a president war game that has different facts about each president. Great way for the kids to learn more about them. I have a president's bingo game, memory games. So check those out as we start learning about the presidents. They're really fun to play at home. So that's all I wanted to share for now, but there are more things in my shop. I am making a United States passport for Cycle 3 too. That may or may not be in there when you're watching this, but I will have more Cycle 3 resources popping up in my shop as we get closer to Cycle 3. So thanks for listening to that. Also stick around to the end of my video because I have some more fun free games and activities you can play with your kids this week to practice the specific memory work that they learned this week. So I will talk more about what those are and how to grab those from my resource library at the end of my video. For geography this week, we are learning about Central America. And so I have the Central American map that you can download from my blog post. I'll link it below if you want. It's just zoomed in so the kids can see the places a little bit better. So we are learning about Belize in red, Guatemala in green. Then we've got Honduras in orange. We have got El Salvador in purple, and then Nicaragua in blue. So I will prepare these maps ahead of time. I will print these out, put them in these dry erase sleeves so the kids can each have one, and I will outline each of the countries in different color dry erase marker before our class time begins. And then I'm going to give each kid some food. These are little food erasers like ice cream, hamburger, there's french fries, cake, just fun things. I found them at Target. And I'm going to have the kids point to each of the countries with their food because we're going to go on a little food tour of Central America. So first we're going to start out in Guatemala, and we're going to have some guacamole in Guatemala. And then we're going to go to Belize, and we're going to stop for a snack of string cheese in Belize. Then we're going to go to El Salvador down here, where we are going to have some warm s'mores in El Salvador. Then we are going to go to Honduras, where we are going to have some churros. And then we're pretty tired and really full, so we're going to go down to Nicaragua here and take a nap in Nicaragua. So I'll have the kids follow along with me. Then I'm going to teach the kids a fun song to the tune Hickory Dickory Dock, and they'll follow along with their little erasers. And it goes like this. Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, Central America. Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, Central America. So we'll sing that a few times. Then I like to ask the kids, who remembers what the orange country is called, where we had churros? Honduras. Who remembers what the purple country is called, where we had warm s'mores? El Salvador. What about the blue country where we took a nap? Nicaragua. So that's geography this week. And again, if you want to download this map, you totally can from my blog. I'll link it below. For English this week, we are learning the definition of a conjunction. So I'm going to teach the kids a fun song to the tune I've Been Working on the Railroad, and we will sing the same song next week as well and add on coordinating conjunctions, but we're just going to focus on the first part today. And since conjunctions connect words or phrases or clauses together, I'm going to have each kid choose another person to connect arms with as we sing the song. So it goes like this. A conjunction is a word used to connect words, phrases, or clauses together. And then we'll sing it one time, and I'll say, okay, go connect arms with somebody else, and we'll do it again. And then connect arms with somebody else, and we'll do it again. You can do that as many times as you want. And that's English this week. For timeline this week, I have my timeline cards that I get from the Classical Conversations bookstore with my dollar store letters on them, just because the kids in my group are younger and they don't all know how to read yet, so it helps them identify them. So first, for timeline, I will have the kids listen to me sing this week's part of the timeline song and then try to join in with me several times. We're not going to get to the motions quite yet, but I just want them to hear this week's part of the timeline song, how it goes, and I want them to try to sing it with me. You'll see why in a second. So we'll do that a few times and I'll sing it in a second for you when I do the motions. But once we do that, then I'm gonna have a pair of kids. You could do 1 or 2 kids depending on how many kids you have. Go out into the hall with a parent or somebody to supervise them for a second, while the rest of us hide the first 2 timeline cards somewhere around the room in the same spot. So I'll tell the kids they need to be together. I just do 2 cards at a time to kind of speed this along a little bit more. Again, if you only have a few kids in your group, you could just do 1 card depending on how much time you want this to take. So I will have the kids find a hiding place for the 2 cards and then have the other kids come back in that were in the hall, and I'll tell them, okay, we're gonna sing this week's part of the timeline song, and we're gonna sing it louder if you're close to finding those cards and quieter if you're far away from them. And I'll encourage the kids to join with me. You definitely have to lead this as a tutor, but we've played this game several times this year and the kids get the gist. So just really encourage them to join you as much as possible. If they don't join you, they're still hearing the timeline song. So that's great. And they love this game. So this week's part of the timeline song goes like this. World War II and President Franklin D. Roosevelt, son of the USSR and the Canton Massacre, United Nations formed, the Cold War, Gandhi and India's independence. So anyway, we'll be seeing that. If the kids get close to finding the cards, then we'll ramp up our volume, like Jewish state established. If they're farther away, then we'll get quiet. Mao and communist victory in China. So we'll do that to help the kids find them. Once they find them, then I have 2 other kids go out in the hall and then we repeat the process just so every kid gets a turn. Again, I have 2 go at a time just to speed it along. You can see it takes a little bit more time, but it's super fun. Then after the kids find the cards, I'll also have them hang them up on the wall on painter's tape. I put 7 pieces of painter's tape up on the wall while I'm prepping stuff for our group in the morning, so they'll be there. And then once we play the game, everybody has a chance. Then we'll stand up in front of the cards and we'll go over the motions together. So this week's motions are World War II. So we do a W, W, and then 2. And President Franklin D. Roosevelt. So we're going to do an F, Franklin, and then a D. We put our 3 fingers and our thumb together and hold up 1 finger. So Franklin, D, and then an R. We twist our pointer finger and middle finger together. So World War II and President Franklin D. Roosevelt. And then Stalin of the USSR, we're gonna border our mustache. So Stalin of the USSR and the Canton. So we take 1 finger and go under our hand like that. Canton, and then massacre, like that. Massacre. And then United Nations foreign, we're gonna take our middle finger and our thumb, link them like this. The United Nations formed. And then Cold War. Gandhi, so a G for Gandhi, like that. Gandhi and India's, we're going to touch our forehead with our finger. And then independence. And then Jewish state, we're going to make our beard. And then for state, we're going to make an S or just a fist and go down just like we did for law. So Jewish state established. Mao, we're going to punch the air. So Mao and communists, and then we're going to touch our shoulders like our coat. Mao and communist victory in China. So I'll do it one more time to the tune. So World War II and President Franklin D. Roosevelt, Stalin of the USSR and the Canton Massacre, United Nations formed, the Cold War, Gandhi and India's independence, Jewish state established, Mao and communist victory in China. So that is timeline this week. For math this week, we are learning the associative law for addition and multiplication. So I made these fun puzzles. You can see my picture. Here are some of the pieces. So I'm going to cut them out for each kid. One color is the associative law of addition. One is from multiplication. And so first I will teach them this song to the tune Do Lord, and then I'll hand out the puzzles and have them work to put the puzzles together as I continue to play the song. So the song goes like this. The associative law for addition states, open parenthesis, A plus B, close parenthesis, plus C equals A plus open parenthesis, B plus C, close parenthesis. And then we keep going. The associative law for multiplication states, open parenthesis, A times B, close parenthesis, times C equals A times open parenthesis, B times C, close parenthesis. And again, they'll just work on their puzzles. I'll have their parents help them. I'll continue to play this song or sing this song as they work. And you can download these puzzles from my blog below. I will link them. And that is math this week. For history this week, we are learning about the end of the Cold War. And I'm going to do the silly word game. So I sing this song to the kids normally and tell them to listen really carefully. And then I sing it again and throw some silly words in and see if they can catch the silly words that I throw in. So the song normally goes like this. In the 1980s, ooh, British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and American President Ronald Reagan worked together to end the Cold War, lessen big government, and strengthen the conservative movement. So then I'll say, okay, now that we've heard the song, I'm going to sing it again, but I'm going to throw some silly words in. And if you hear a silly word, raise your hand and tell me what it is. So I'll start out. In the 1980s, ooh, British Prime Minister Muffin Thatcher. Muffin? No, not Muffin. What should it be? Oh, Margaret. So then I'll do it again and I'll start from the beginning and do the song normally until the next silly word. So, in the 1980s, ooh, British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and American President Ronald Reagan. Raisin? No. Oh, what should it be? Ronald Reagan. Oh, okay. So then I'll go back to the beginning again and sing it normally until the next silly word. So they're hearing it normally a lot, which is one of the reasons I really like this. And the kids just love this. So that's why I've done it a lot this year. So the silly words I use are muffin instead of Margaret, raisin instead of Reagan, warthog instead of war, pig instead of big, and candy instead of conservative. So that's history this week. For science this week, we are learning about the third law of thermodynamics. So we're going to finish our song to the tune I've Been Working on the Railroad. So this week's part of the song goes like this. The third law explains why it is impossible to reach the state of absolute zero temperature. And when we sing zero temperature, I'm going to have all the kids lay on the ground. So I'm going to sing just this week's part to them and tell them we're going to fall on the ground when we hear zero temperature. But I'm also going to then start from the first law of thermodynamics, and we're going to do the same motions that we've been doing and just do the whole song. So when we sing creative, we go like this, and then destroy, that's the first law, and then higher temperature, lower temperature for the second law, and then zero temperature, we lay on the ground. So the whole song goes like this. The first law of thermodynamics states that energy cannot be created or destroyed. The second law, the law of entropy, explains why heat flows from an area of higher temperature to an area of lower temperature. The third law explains why it is impossible to reach the state of absolute zero temperature. We fall to the ground. So we'll just sing that a few times, and that is science this week. For Latin this week, we are learning the first conjugation verb endings in the pluperfect tense. And so we're going to play this fun game where I'm going to have a volunteer tell me one of these to circle. So I'll have them all written up on my tutor board and we'll circle one. So for example, maybe arum, the first one. And so we'll start sitting when we sing the song. But when we sing arum, we're going to stand up and then we stay standing until we sing it again. So it will look like this. So we'll all start sitting and we'll go arum. So we'll stand up and then we'll stay standing. Arum, eras, erat. Aramis, eratus, erant. First conjugation, pluperfect tense. So we'll stand for most of that part. but then we'll add another one. So for example, if we circle erat this time, so then we'll start sitting, we'll stand when we sing the first one, eram, that's circled, and then we'll change positions, sit back down when we sing erat. So it'll look like this. Eram, eras, erat, eramis, eratus, erant. First conjugation, pluperfect tense. And then I'll have the kids give me another one to circle. And so we're only changing positions when we sing a circled one. Soon, all of them will be circled, or you can keep doing it until they're all circled. And then, every time you sing one, you'll be standing up or sitting down. So it's fun. So that is Latin this week. For review this week, we are going to play our rotten egg game again. So this is super fun. I just put this up on the wall and then I put these eggs around it. So on one side of the egg, it's decorated. On the other side, there's a positive or negative value. If there's a negative value, it's a rotten egg. And so you can see in my picture all the eggs around the sign. And what I do is split the kids into 2 teams and I tell them, okay, I'm going to ask a review question, and then if you know it, raise your hand. And so whoever answers it, they get to come pull an egg off the wall and we see if it's a rotten egg or not. If it's rotten, we add -20 to their team score. I often get a parent to help keep score. And if it's positive, we add the positive value. And then I ask another review question. I just bring my foundations guide in to ask questions, just flip to the past few weeks. And we just keep playing until all the eggs are off the wall or until we're out of time. And then we total each team's score. And you can decide whether the team with the highest score or the lowest score wins. And if you want to use this game, it's really fun. You can get it for free from my blog. I'll link it below. But that's a review this week. All right, like I promised, I want to show you the free games you can use at home with your kids to practice the memory work this week. So the first one is this fun thermodynamics board game. I have cards that go with it. It includes all 3 laws of thermodynamics. The kids don't have to know anything to play. It's very educational. It just tells them different examples about how the 3 laws works, and they move along the board. It tells them how many spaces to move. So really fun educational way to learn about all 3 laws of thermodynamics. Then for math, I have this fun what's the scoop order of operations activity that tells the kids to color each of the ice cream scoops according to what property is shown. So it includes all the properties from weeks 21 through 24. So I also have it color coded, so there's a key to it too. But there's several different forms, so your kid can do it more than once. It just helps them practice recognizing the different mathematical properties. And then I have my Latin bingo game that I've shown before. This has all 24 weeks of Latin on it with different images that help the kids know how to pronounce the Latin endings. There's 6 different bingo boards, so just a really fun way to review the Latin they've learned this year. I also wanted to share that I made some fun orchestra games that are free that you can use with your kids at home. So some of them are this build your own orchestra board game where I have little instruments you can cut out and the kids get to build their own orchestra depending on what it says, which is super fun. I have an instrument sequence game too. So check those out. Those are in my resource library. I will link them below. They're free. And since we focus on orchestra the last 6 weeks in fine arts, that would be a fun way to just continue learning about that at home with your kids. So you can grab these games for free from my resource library below. I will link in the description how you can grab them. Thanks so much for watching. I hope these ideas have helped you. Let me know if you have any questions. If you are enjoying my videos, please subscribe to my channel. I post a video per week with tutor ideas and other homeschooling help and encouragement. And check out my Instagram. I like to post what I do with my kids throughout the week homeschooling wise, and sometimes some spontaneous homeschooling things I end up making, and also recipes. And check out my blog where I have my resource library with tons of free stuff, and my shop, which I talked about a few things in there earlier in this video, including the President's Game, timeline cards, the review activity book, things like that. So let me know again if you have any questions or comments, and thanks again for watching. Have a great day.